Compass Mining makes Bitcoin mining accessible to everyone. Start mining in as little as 48 hours with our turnkey hardware, online and mining directly to your Bitcoin wallet within 2 business days. Find out more at compassmining.io and get started now. Hey miners, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, the new home of power mining analysis. Red across the board in the Bitcoin mining space this morning. A sell-off across the sector, but that's okay. A great buying opportunity for any of the long-term investors watching this video. In addition to the market action, we've got a flurry of news out from the Bitcoin mining companies, in addition to a few companies already starting to report earnings. A lot to go through in today's video. Before we do, smash the like button, you guys. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. We just crossed 46,000 subscribers. We'd love to have you as part of the community. And finally, let me know how you're feeling about your stocks this morning. Are you worried? Are you buying? And what is your outlook on the price of Bitcoin leading into next week's US federal election? Now, with that being said, let's get into today's video. Okay, guys, so there we have it. Happy Halloween to everyone watching. It's a spooky market this morning, Anthony. Red across the board. Bitcoin has retreated, now trading hands in the neighborhood of about $70,500. So a great buying opportunity there. I actually took advantage of that and bought a few $1,000s of Bitcoin this morning myself. As a result of that, obviously the miners have sold off in a big way. The portfolio's not looking the best this morning, but again, a great buying opportunity for anyone who's got that long-term mentality and that bullish Bitcoin belief. Anthony, how are you feeling today? Happy Halloween. What are you dressing up as, buddy?
Happy Halloween. It's not like a major thing we do in the UK. It's starting to catch on a little bit, but I know it's big in North America in terms of even adults. I mean, generally in UK, it's more children orientated. They go around doing, like, we call it trick or treat, and
Gotcha.
you go around and you get sweets, or generally sweets. No one wants to give you a trick, and
No, no tricks.
like like pour a bucket of water over your head.
So
Like,
you're not dressing up today, Anthony? No costume for you?
not today, no, no, no. I'm a little bit past that now, but
Thought you might go as Larry Fink or Donald Trump for Halloween or something like that. We're taking the kids out tonight. We've got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, so they've got their costumes. I guess I won't be dressing up now that you told me it's just
and
for
they go
kids.
around getting candies. Yeah, is that right? Yeah,
Candy, correct?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's
yeah.
that we do that in the UK. So it's
That's all
yeah.
right. How are you feeling about the mining stocks? We'll bring up the mid-morning update here. Pretty red across the board. We've got earnings out. We've got news from a number of the miners we're going to get into, but pretty dismal across what I can see here, Anthony.
It's pretty dismal. But what you have to remember is where we've been since the start of the month. Some of these stocks are up 30-40% since the start of the month. So a little bit of a pullback today. Bitcoin price is down a little bit, but I mean, it was still at 70,500. I mean, well, a few 4 days ago, we were under 70,000. So yes, we've nearly hit the all-time high, basically touched it nearly. Now we've pulled back a little bit. I still think, in the next few days or even to next week, we will probably go past the all-time high. So I don't really look at this as anything serious. Maybe a little bit of profit taking. It'd be interesting to see when we get the next update from HODL 15 as to what the ETFs have been doing. Maybe a little bit of selling there, but I'm not overly concerned at the moment.
No, nor am I. It's actually funny. We obviously try and get clicks with these thumbnails, so we'll put on these drastic red or green a couple words to grab some attention, Anthony. But realistically, our sentiment doesn't change day to day, whether it's red or green. I don't really care. A great buying opportunity I added to some of the miners this morning as well, and like we talked about earlier this week, with Bitcoin being quote unquote programmed to hit new highs, it's just a matter of time for these miners. I also saw transaction fees were coming in quite nicely. And then obviously tomorrow we're going to start to get all of the production results. My bet would be Bitfarms will be first out of the door. Now, speaking of Bitfarms reporting, I would think tomorrow, they also came out with a press release today talking about a second hosting agreement with Stronghold Digital for an additional 10,000 miners. So if you recall, Bitfarms is going through the process of purchasing Stronghold. They had earmarked a lot of these miners for Paraguay and South America, and they figured, hey, you know what? If we can get them online hashing in the United States sooner, why not? So with that being said, Anthony, can you walk us through today's update?
Yeah, today's update is similar to the last one we received, and basically they're going to move 10,000 miners that were due to go to Paraguay and move them into the Stronghold facility in Pennsylvania, and that'll take it to 20,000 miners, and being hosted by Stronghold. And the way it works is that they'll do a profit share, effectively 50% of the profit made after costs will go to Stronghold. Now we know that Stronghold should, if the shareholders agree to it in early 2025, it'll become part of the Bitfarms family anyway. So, but this is two things. I mean, one, yes, it's getting hash rate on, but it flag a concern about Paraguay and the fact that that's 20,000 miners that were destined for Paraguay moving Stronghold, or is that a case of let's get mining machines active now and we'll still backfill the Paraguay as it comes online? Because the point was Paraguay was supposed to be 8 exahash by the end of the year. And does that mean that's going to be delayed? Well, fortunately, we've got Ben on the podcast, I think, in a couple of weeks' time, and we'll be certainly getting more of those questions across to Ben to give us an update as he gives out earnings as well at that point in time. But yeah, I mean, it's good in the fact we know, definitely, but obviously this is a profit share at the moment until Stronghold becomes part of the family. So not as much of a margin as maybe going into Paraguay. Bear in mind the Paraguay energy prices were generally lower than the US prices. So again, it does give me a little bit of concern. But Ben will be able to take us through that in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, it's an interesting point you bring up, Anthony. I'm not too concerned about the profit share because realistically, it's taking money from one pocket to the other. They're going to get that money in a couple months, anyways. But you do bring up a good concern about Paraguay. We floated that question to Ben last time he was on the program. He obviously had said, no, no, this is just a timing strategy move, which obviously anyone in that position would say. But this does definitely beg the question. We've actually got him on the 13th here of November for earnings, so we can talk to him about this as well. Speaking of interviews, we've also got Bitdeer coming on the program on November 19th, Anthony. They're going to be discussing earnings as well. Today, they came out with a big press release in relation to their Sealminer technology platform. So this is one you and I have been following closely ever since the first Sealminer A1 chip was announced. Very excited about the progress the team's made here. Why don't you walk us through this one?
Yeah, so Bitdeer have, we've talked with Bitdeer all through 2024. Early in the year, they told us about this move into producing their own miner, and it's not as big a surprise as it made out to be because Bitdeer was previously formed from Bitmain. And what we're seeing now is within sort of 7 or 8 months, we've got the announcement of two of their Sealminer A2 machines, which boast a hash rate of 226 terahash a second and 446 terahash a second, respectively. So, two very, very powerful, very efficient mining machines. One of them's air cooling, so the 226 terahash is the air cooled machine, and the hydro cooling machine will achieve 446 terahash. And if you look at what the power efficiency of these machines, both being able to operate at 16.5 joules a terahash. Now, not even Bitmain, can just about equal that or slightly better. I mean, their S21 Pro, I think, is about 15, but this is literally second generation for Bitdeer, and they've already explained that they're going to not stop here. They're looking to get down to towards 10, and maybe in 2025, 2026, get down to 5. So this is the first steps now. We've got the machines now. They're highlighting all the configurations of the machines. So it's not just a sort of like a dream going forward. It's actually reality now. And this will be really interesting. Power consumption for the Sealminer A2, the air-cooled one, 3,729 watts, and the hydro one with a power consumption of 7,359 watts. Really, really good machines to get on the market there. Certainly beating some of the Bitmain competitors in terms of efficiency there. they'll use them for their own requirements first because they're going to grow their hash rate this year by another 3 to 4 exahash, and then massively next year as they start fitting out some of these large facilities that are being finalized this year. So in 2025 is a big year for Bitdeer. The expectation by the end of the year is something like over 40 exahash. So they'll join that tier one group of miners with the likes of CleanSpark and Marathon and Riot and IREN, as like the biggest miners with the biggest hash rate. And Cipher again could maybe join that group in 2025 or maybe 2026 when they get full utilization from the Black Pearl site.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Cipher in a second here. Absolutely incredible to hear those statistics, especially considering, as you say, this is only their second kick at the can. I was looking up power consumption as you talked about that wattage usage, Anthony. A standard microwave is about 800 to 1,000 watts just by comparison. So these machines are definitely consuming a lot of power, which is why your point about lower power prices in Paraguay in relation to Bitfarms was super relevant there. Now, we've got one more kind of housekeeping update before we get into earnings here. So we're going to shift gears over to CleanSpark. They've now officially closed on their GRIID purchase. So this was a big M&A story we covered earlier in the year. I'll let you quickly go over this one, and then we'll move over to earnings with Cipher and Riot Platforms.
Yeah, so yesterday, CleanSpark completed the transaction of purchasing GRIID, and the GRIID's stock is converted into CleanSpark shares, and that will be and they'll be taken off the GRIID will be taken off the indexed the exchange today. So that all went through there. The great thing about GRIID is the fact that there's potential power there that can get up to about 400 megawatts. So we know at CleanSpark we're looking for sites, looking for potential assets that could drive their hash rate to where it needs to get to. I mean, this year they've got ambitious target of getting to 37. We think they're going to exceed 37 in the recent updates. Next year's an even bigger year, get to over 50 exahash. And so to do that, you need sites, you need power. Obviously, you need capital to deliver both of those things there. But this one here, buying a miner there with not a massive hash rate, but with great potential for increasing that. And so Zach and the team at CleanSpark, they've looked at this and thought this is a good deal. It's gone through. It was approved by the GRIID shareholders. So all above board, all part of the CleanSpark family.
Yeah, that's going to be great. Thinking about these sites, I know we were just visiting with Dennis Porter last night talking about Mining Disrupt, which is coming up in Fort Lauderdale in March, Anthony. We were talking about all the infrastructure assets. Obviously, Dennis and team are very involved with the Satoshi Action Fund, a lot of the political jockeying that's going on in the States right now. So we've actually got him on the program later, but you bring up some great points about this power portfolio and exactly how critical that is to CleanSpark's future growth. Now, speaking of power portfolios, next up we have Cipher Mining. They came out with Q3, so I'll let you go through the numbers. But interesting point here, you guys. If you go to their corporate website, take a look at the investor presentation they put out. A great slide for each one of their properties or assets within their portfolio. You made reference to Black Pearl earlier, so I've brought some pictures of that one. But you can actually go through and see each one of the sites within Cipher's portfolio, and really no wonder why we expect a hyperscaler deal imminently here. Compass Mining is your trusted partner in Bitcoin mining. Whether you're investing in one machine or thousands, our customizable solutions are tailored to meet your needs. We are your experts in Bitcoin mining, offering a platform where individuals and businesses can purchase hardware, host machines, and access a range of ancillary Bitcoin mining services. We also specialize in large-scale site development and data center operations. Discover more at compassmining.io and see how we can power your success today.
Yeah, so like Riot issued their numbers last night. Cipher have issued their numbers today. And bear in mind, if you go back a couple of podcasts ago, or even a month ago, I think I was suggesting that with the Bitcoin price, even though it was rallying up, I think 63,000 at the end of September, that we'd see a pretty much a sea of red in terms of um, results that are coming out. And so Cipher have announced a third quarter loss of $87 million. Now, this is the first full quarter since the halving, so this is it's got no benefit of like it had in the previous quarter where there was an element of five or 6 weeks of pre-halving where they're able to count that as part of the quarter. But this is full quarter in the new cycle. Bitcoin price hasn't probably rallied as much as people were expecting it to, so profits, or net profits are significantly down. Now, of the sort of 87 million, you've got a lot of non-cash costs in there. So Cipher, like all the other miners, will come out with their adjusted net loss, and that's down at 3 million. So once you take out depreciation, stock compensation, any unrealized losses, any non-cash costs that way, they're down at 3 million. So what it says to me is it says that they're sort of breaking from a cash perspective. It sounds like they're very close to break even through that last quarter. So 63,000 was the price of Bitcoin last quarter. Price today is 70,500. So you've got a bit more revenue coming in at the moment compared to what it was in that quarter. So that will certainly give help towards some of these miners. However, we've already mentioned before about difficulty. As difficulty increases, the production numbers come down. So great that the Bitcoin price is going up, but there is an equal sort of like or a problem that happens with the with you don't get as much Bitcoin, so therefore your revenues do get affected. As more and more hash rate joins the global hash rate, you're sharing all those rewards with all the other hash rate on the network. And this is a challenge not for Cypher, but a challenge for all miners. And so you've got to continue to grow quicker than the global hash rate. And the global hash rate at the start of the year to where it is now, it's more than doubled. And so if you're looking at mining companies, you want to have more than doubled your hash rate. And some of these miners haven't doubled the hash rate yet. They're looking to double maybe by the end of the year, or certainly to 2025. And Cipher will be one of those miners in that bracket there. So you look at the likes of CleanSpark and IREN have certainly doubled their hash rate this year because they've massively increased. Riot, another one that's massively increased hash rate. But we'll come on to Riot's numbers in a second. Lots of things are going to be happening in 25, 26 for Cipher. So we've already known about the sites they've purchased, which have got the HPC capability as well as Bitcoin mining. So they've got the way to pivot into both of those business units. And the likelihood is, and we've said this for a long time, that Cipher are pivoting towards HPC. And if you've got that amount of land and potential power that goes with the land, you're going to be in a very good position. And it might not be a case of 25, 26. It might be a case of as these hyperscalers are looking for power and facilities, that they're looking over a sort of a 3 or 4 year period to deliver that. So it's not like, things can happen tomorrow, but the planning and all this will get them to where they need to. And as we've seen with the Core Scientific deal, we're waiting for the next miner to come up with that type of a contract. Cipher are certainly pivoting themselves like TeraWulf into a position where they can maybe, hopefully announce something so that the CoreWeave deal isn't the only one on the market.
Yeah, it would definitely be nice. I'm almost a little bit surprised we haven't heard anything out from TeraWulf yet. I thought for sure last week was the week. That was what my intuition was telling me, Anthony. However, as we've seen, these deals take time to work through and obviously sign and craft. You're right in saying that access to land and power is a key asset for Cipher. Another key contender in that space with their crown jewel Corsicana facility is Riot Platforms. So again, phenomenal pictures coming out as part of their Q3 earnings presentation. We've got some updates from Corsicana and obviously earnings. It's going to be interesting in the case of Riot and some of these other companies, Anthony, that have a tremendous amount of money in Bitcoin or in their HODL to see the impact of this HODL on balance sheet change as Bitcoin price approaches near all-time highs here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Riot released their numbers last night. And again, with their numbers, I think it was 155 million of net loss. But if you take out all the cash, the depreciation was 60 million, stock compensation was about 30 million, unrealized losses was over 30 million. So they had a net loss again of just over 3 million. They have two main services. They have the Bitcoin mining, and they also have the engineering service, which delivers significant amount of revenue for them. They've got rid of most of the hosting, but I think there is still some hosting going on as they go through litigation with some of the companies. So there's still effective. They now class that as, I think it's other income. We'll get Jason to clarify that when we have him on the podcast on Monday. But in terms of their Bitcoin mining, they're able to mine a Bitcoin in Q3 at around about $35,000. Although accounting wise, not a great picture to highlight, but when you start stripping out some non-cash costs, um, it's certainly a better a better position for at least retail investors to understand that they're able at the current price of Bitcoin to mine a Bitcoin less than that. But the litigation and the other costs that they're incurring through that litigation, that needs to sort of like we need to get an understanding of when that's going to likely, stop and give them a more sort of like accurate picture of where they really are because some of these miners are having to go through elements of litigation in this industry which is very very young. We're talking about an industry which is only 6 or 7 years old in terms of public miners, um, and so there's still that position there. But yeah, as I say, we won't dwell too much on Riot because we're going to have Jason on. We've got a lot of questions for Jason to go through on Monday. But yeah, as we expected, another red day for Riot, but adjusted EBITDA gives them some sort of like hope that things at the Bitcoin price now, and if it rises more, gets them back into where it should be into profit. One good thing about them is they have a significant amount of cash available. I think it's 425 million at the end of September on the balance sheet. A little bit, I think 70 million that's restricted. So well over 355 million of cash available, plus a hodl over 10,427 coins at the price today at 70,000. So again, well over 700 million just in Bitcoin. So, they've got, and then you've got to remember, they've also got a 20% stake in Bitfarms as well. They have the option to sell those shares and to convert that into cash if they think Bitfarms is no longer an option for them. So they've got quite a lot of liquidity. When I say liquidity, things that you can turn into cash quite quickly, and close to like $1.5 billion. Yeah, the one thing that stood out for me on the earnings update was the hash rate itself. So we know at the moment 28.2 hash rates spread across three facilities: the Rockdale facility, Corsicana, and a facility in Kentucky, which they recently acquired from Block. And now they've revised their end of year target from 36 exahash down to 34.9, so just over an exahash less than that. And that's down to the facility at Kentucky not being able to ramp up as quickly as they expect. I think when we were in Nashville with Jason and the team, I think they were articulating, and the Block team were there as well, so we got to meet all them at the conference, and I think they indicated that they'll be able to grow something like 100 megawatts at the Kentucky sites, and maybe that's not gone as planned then. And also, if you look at next year's target, so the whole of 2025 has been now revised down to 46.7 exahash. So again, this is about Kentucky, which was previously expected to grow by 8.8 exahash, and now that's been pushed back to 2026, 2027 because of power access. That's probably something for Jason to maybe expand on a little more, and was why is that coming out now when we had the deal early this year and looked like everything seemed to be running seamlessly, but they've still got a target to reach 100 exahash, but they haven't put a time frame on that, so it's going to be post 2027. And I suppose with all the miners, they can say what's within their remit now, but as we know, as time goes on, opportunities arise, and maybe there's another purchase that they look at to get their hash rate back to where it needs to be. So, so end of 2025, 46.7, end of 2026, another sort of effectively 20 exahash to get them to nearly 66 exahash. So they've got some nice growth targets, certainly would be keeping in line with where they expect the global hash rate to go. But bear in mind, at the start of the year, they were 12. Now they're at 28. So they've more than doubled their hash rate this year. And they'll grow, fairly significantly next year as well.
Yeah, what I'm going to be watching hopefully in the next day or two before Jason comes on the program is the operational hash rate coming out for September. As you say, Anthony, we've got him on the program Mondays. So if you do have any questions for Jason and the team at Riot, make sure you send those to us over the weekend. We've also started scheduling the majority of miner earnings interviews. Those are available on the Power Mining Analysis website under the calendar portion. You can take a look there as you check your Miner Madness updates. Anthony, a lot going on in the space today in terms of news, in terms of price action, Bitcoin price, miners continuing to trade in the red. I think retreating a little bit further even since we've started this podcast. So stay strong out there, you guys. Great day to be averaging in or buying additional shares if you have some dry powder available. So with that being said, feel free to hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Let us know how you're feeling about the mining space overall and the initial earnings we've seen in the sector. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you here tomorrow.